It starts with the lights. In 2022, the people of Sri Lanka woke up to a reality that shouldn't be possible in the modern world: 13-hour power cuts. Not because of a hurricane, not because of a war, but because the ship carrying fuel was sitting right there in the harbor, refusing to unload. The captain wasn't waiting for a storm to pass. He was waiting for a check to clear, and the government couldn't write one. We tend to think of countries as permanent, unshakable things. A business can go bankrupt, a person can go broke, but a country? We assume a country can always just print more money. But that assumption is the trap. When a country actually runs out of money, it doesn't look like an empty bank vault. It looks like a slow-motion car crash where the passengers are the last to know they've hit the wall. To understand how a nation goes broke, you have to understand the two types of money in the world. There is monopoly money, which is what most countries print, and there is real money, usually the US dollar, the euro, or gold. Let's say you run a country. You can print as much of your own currency as you want. You can pay your soldiers, your teachers, and your police in this printed paper. Inside your borders, you are a god. But you cannot print oil. You cannot print insulin. You cannot print computer chips. To get those things, you need to buy them from other countries, and other countries do not want your printed paper. They want dollars. A sovereign default happens when a country runs out of the foreign cash needed to keep the lights on. It usually starts quietly. The government spends more than it makes, building massive bridges to nowhere, subsidizing gas prices to keep voters happy, or paying interest on old debts.
To pay for this high life, they borrow dollars from foreign banks. Everything looks fine on the surface. Construction cranes are everywhere, the stock market is up, the leaders are cutting ribbons. But then the bill comes due. Maybe interest rates rise in America. Maybe a pandemic hits tourism. Suddenly, the flow of dollars stops, but the debt payments don't. Now the government panics. They look at their foreign reserves, their savings account. It's draining fast. So they pull the first lever, denial. The central bank governor goes on television. He wears a nice suit. He smiles. He says, "Our fundamentals are strong." Meanwhile, behind closed doors, they are doing something catastrophic. They start printing their local currency like maniacs to buy up any dollars left in the private market. This is the death spiral. Because they are printing so much, the local currency collapses. Yesterday, a loaf of bread cost 100 pesos. Today, it's 200. Next week, it's 1,000. Your salary stays the same, but you are suddenly impoverished. You go to the pharmacy for antibiotics, but the shelves are empty. Why? Because the pharmacy owner can't get dollars to import the medicine. The country hasn't disappeared. The buildings are still there. The people are still willing to work. But the trust, the invisible glue that holds the economy together, has evaporated.
Then comes the garage sale. When a country is truly desperate, it doesn't just cut budgets. It starts selling the furniture. They sell the rights to their ports to foreign powers. They sell their national airlines. They lease out their diamond mines or farmland for pennies on the dollar to China, the US, or private equity firms. They trade their future sovereignty for cash today just to keep the fuel flowing for one more month. This is the stage where the brain drain begins. The doctors, the engineers, the entrepreneurs, anyone with a skill that travels, get on a plane and leave. They know the ship is sinking. The country is left with the elderly, the poor, and the corrupt. Finally, the repo man arrives. Usually, this is the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. They are the lender of last resort. They land at the airport with briefcases full of cash and a list of demands. They will give the country money to turn the lights back on, but the cost is brutal. They demand austerity. They force the government to fire thousands of workers, cut pensions, and raise taxes on an already starving population. It is a national humiliation. The government is still technically in charge, but the checkbook is held by bankers in Washington or Geneva. And here is the terrifying part. This isn't rare. Argentina has defaulted 9 times. Lebanon, Venezuela, Greece, Sri Lanka. It's a cycle that repeats every decade. But look at the major economies today. Look at the debt to GDP ratios of the rich world. We are operating on the same mechanics. We are just borrowing from a bigger credit card. When a country runs out of money, it doesn't end with an explosion. It ends with a whimpering surrender of control. The flag still flies, but the ground underneath it belongs to the creditors. So the next time you hear a politician promise free money or see a national debt clock spinning so fast it blurs, don't ask how we're going to pay for it. Ask who is going to own us when we can't.